What's up guys? In today's video, I'm going to show you how to get clean handheld images on low light with your a7 III. AK, I'm going to, teach you the basics of ISO. So let's just get right into it. The first step, what exactly is ISO? ISO is pretty much like a numerical representation of your camera's sensitivity to light, so to speak. A high ISO typically means more light you'll get in the camera, but images will have more digital noise. It's kind of like the graininess you see, like if you take a picture at night. Whereas a low value ISO will get less light into the camera, but your images will be like cleaner and less grainy. Now, to actually adjust the ISO value on your a7 III is pretty easy. On the back here, you're just going to hit the little ISO button on the right side of the spinny thing. And from there, you can adjust it to fit your ISO that you need. So to be completely honest, in most situations, I keep it on automatic ISO and set a max ISO of about 8,000. Typically, I've found that the a7 III, the pictures look amazing up to 8,000, and then past that, you start to get a pretty significant amount of digital noise that you can't easily fix in Lightroom or Photoshop. So that's why I usually cap it out at about 8,000. That being said, if I have my camera on a tripod, I'm taking long exposures, or I want to get a very specific image, I will manually adjust it. But in any case, you clicked on the clickbait title of how to get better handheld low light images with your a7 III, so we're going to talk about that. So there's a couple of things that go into it. Obviously, you need to adjust your ISO to something that is pretty high if you're shooting like in low light conditions, but not too high to where you get substantial digital noise. Like I said, I usually cap mine around 8, sometimes 10,000, depending on the situation. But your shutter speed is also very important. So obviously when you're shooting at night, you can set your shutter speed manually. I have found typically I can handheld images up to, or down to I guess, about a 30th of a second. I have decently shaky hands. I don't know why, I guess I'm just weak. But in any case, I can shoot at about a 30th of a second handheld. The a7 III has pretty good stabilization, so that definitely has a big hand in it. In any case, if you have stable hands, you can shoot at an even slower shutter speed, maybe even like a 10th of a second. But what I actually like to do is I usually shoot an aperture priority. So I typically like to have my shutter speed set manually if I'm just, like wandering around the city doing like one and gun shooting. So what I do is actually set the minimum shutter speed. So you go up here to the menu button, the first tab, page 9, and then you can set your ISO auto minimum shutter speed to anything you'd like. I typically set mine to about 60th of a second, I should say, because I can comfortably handhold that. And what that setting does is it pretty much makes it so your shutter speed will never go slower than that. So you're never gonna, it's never gonna dip underneath that to where you have shaky images shooting at night. So yeah, honestly, that's pretty much it, at least this video. Unfortunately, there's no magic trick that you can use to get incredibly handheld nighttime pictures. It really is just a mixture of shooting with a high enough ISO that you're comfortable with, having a slow enough shutter speed that you can, keep your hand steady feel. And yeah, I mean, the simple truth of the matter is you're never gonna shoot the night sky handheld, and you're not gonna shoot most long exposures handheld. It's just impossible. But with this setup, shooting at about 10,000 ISO with a shutter speed of a 30th of a second maximum, I've found that I can usually get pretty good handheld shots at night. I tend to shoot at night a lot, around my neighborhood and whatnot, and I typically don't have issues with those settings. But yeah, that pretty much sums it up, guys. If you like this video, feel free to drop a like and even subscribe. If you want to learn more about your a7 III in particular, I do have an entire series of guides that I've made on this camera. So feel free to click the link somewhere up on the screen here. And yeah, that sums it up, guys. Thanks so much for watching, and have a great day.